The 20th anniversary of the Pink Ribbon Cancer Awareness Campaign was celebrated this morning with a breakfast in Sydney attended by 500 people. Originally the brainchild of Evelyn Lauder, the daughter-in-law of the famous cosmetics founder Estee Lauder, the pink ribbon has become a ubiquitous symbol of the disease. We're here to look at the success of that concept and other charity brands. Here's Dr. Paul Harrison from the Graduate School of Business at Deakin University. So Paul, what's the secret of the pink ribbon's success?
Well, Ros, I think it's this idea that you're tangibilising something quite abstract for a lot of people, which is breast cancer, and particularly, I guess, breast cancer awareness, and you're making it a concrete idea. So it's moving from what we might call the abstract to the concrete, and humans need that. They need that idea that this is something real.
The Pink Ribbon and the McGrath Foundation, also a breast cancer charity, they've both adopted the pink brand. You see water bottles with pink lids, pink sport shoes. It's everywhere, it seems, but can a brand sometimes be too successful and produce compassion fatigue? Is there a balance that needs to be achieved?
Yes, most definitely. Charities need to find that balance between being seen to be too ubiquitous, too everywhere, and being able to be seen to be a charity that actually needs help. And often what we find in some of the research that we do is that when people start to see a charity being too successful, they start to withdraw their involvement in it and they become overwhelmed and they look for other charities. And again, with breast cancer, it's partly about raising funds, but it's also partly about raising awareness so that women do things like breast examination and go in for mammograms and things like that.
All right, let's look at some other charity campaigns now. What about Red Nose Day, which raises money for infant and childhood conditions? They still have that day once a year, but it's not as big an event as it used to be.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a lot of brands in the commercial marketplace in that it had a huge popularity in the late 90s, early 2000s, and you saw it on the front of buses and politicians were wearing red noses, but it also then declined very quickly. And I think, again, it's about finding that balance, not being too ubiquitous, too everywhere, but also trying to get people involved. And I think the Red Nose brand itself has in a way influenced or diluted the way that consumers or that supporters might see it.
November's just around the corner. Movember has caught people's imaginations, raising awareness of men's health. That seemed to come from nowhere.
Yeah, it was actually just a bunch of 30 blokes who thought that they might grow moustaches in November one year, and then they thought, well, maybe we should do something with it. And I think the Movember idea is, again, putting a little bit of humour around this idea of a very serious problem, and partly, again, raising men's awareness of a particular health problem. And I think different to perhaps going out and buying a ribbon or putting on a red nose, it actually involves changing the way you look, a little bit like the Great Australian Shave, where people are asked to shave their heads or dye their hair to raise funds and raise awareness of leukaemia research. So again, these are quite significant changes and requires a lot more involvement on the part of the people participating, and often means that they raise more funds and create more awareness.
So will future campaigns have to look for something new and clever, getting away from ribbons and red noses to be a success?
As long as it's made tangible, and I think the new frontiers, the big frontiers, are those very abstract ideas like climate change, for example, but also things like obesity. I think, again, charities are grappling with this idea of how we get people to behave healthily, again, using tangible methods.
Paul Harrison, thank you.